Okay. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Commissioners for February 15th, 2023. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Zemke,
Here.
Commissioner Matoush,
Here.
Commissioner Chancarelli,
Present.
Commissioner Slater Carter,
Present.
Commissioner Dummer.
Present.
Okay. Moving on to public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on any subject that is not on the agenda. Do we have any hands raised?
We have a couple hands raised. I'll let John Olem in.
Thank you for having me. Congratulations, Commissioner Slater Carter. I'm glad you're there to help run the show.
Thank
I noticed that right off the bat, you'll notice that they changed the format a little bit about where they list off the link, for example, to join this meeting. And it's really hard to find. Finally, I read it. I had to go find Appendix A and then go find an Appendix A and then go look in there. Why did they make it harder? And this just goes to the whole point that others have made, that it's just not right to be holding these meetings in the afternoon. They should be held in the evening, like most commission meetings are held. And you'd have far more participation that way. You can ask the harbor manager himself that Nancy Raring asked him about moving the meetings during the day. And his advice was to not do that because people can't attend meetings during the day. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for me to attend it. It's getting harder. So please make it easier. Don't be just changing around and telling people to go to Appendix A to sign into a meeting that's already hard to attend. And let's see if we can do something about getting these meetings back to a time of day that accommodates the schedule for most people in the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have any more hands raised?
Next up, we have Allison M.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, go
Hello,
ahead.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for your service and also welcome to the new commissioner. And I do want to say, I also do find it difficult to find the agenda and the instructions to actually email public comment and the link for the Zoom. So I just wanted to second that. And maybe if you canvass a few of the other agencies, it could be a bit easier, like the Board of Supervisors or whatever. But I do want to say, State Lands and BCDC, they both meet at 1 p.m. and the Board of Supervisors meets at 9 a.m. So I actually think it's difficult to make nighttime meetings. So I just wanted to say that. I also wanted to say that I appreciate Nell Sealander of South City. She spent a real long period of time with us about 3 weeks ago, talking about, again, the Oyster Cove Marina, displaced people, and Oyster Point Marina, and what we're calling the safe harbor, which is still very much appreciated. And, she said a new flyer would be coming out, clarifying some of the, I think, the bumpy public announcement. And I think it was in good faith. It was a town hall was held September 21st before the letter of intent was finalized. And there's just a lot of moving parts, but I'd like to say that the letter of intent doesn't say anything about an April 1st check-in. And I just want to make the case, this is an asset of South City. It's a municipal harbor and marina. It's taxpayer funded. It is not West Point or La Jolla Coronado. It's not St. Francis Yacht Club. And yes, of course, boats need to be operable, seaworthy, and have their means of propulsion. But these people and boats don't need to be gone at any time. Only liveaboard enforcement and compliance needs to happen, and 1 year from exceeding the 10%. And I also would just like someone to look into flipping the extended stays and whether that messed up the wait list. Thanks.
Thank you, Allison, for the comments. Do we have any further public comments?
Jan Haggerty.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so you're cutting me out at 2 minutes. This is pretty darn disturbing to me. I'll start out. Hello, commissioners. Stan Haggerty, El Granada. I got a lot to say. I'm at work. I got to take time off to say this, and you're only giving me 2 minutes. I'm going to need more time, I believe. Just to let you know. Number one, I have met with Mr. Pruitt, General Manager, in regards to 2 things. Number one, doing a better job of the design so that everybody can be proud. I'm sure that if you really look at it, if everybody really looked at it, everybody involved would do better with a more attractive design to the bathroom. And I'm only talking about surface finishes, nothing major, but just to make it attractive. And I already went over that with Mr. Pruitt. In regards to parking there, you know, in 1962, when they built that lot, there were 19 parking spaces. Since then, the need for parking has increased, not decreased. It has increased. We've also had the California Coastal Act that says that this area needs to be accessible. And so I'm very urging, we're gonna have ongoing discussion to figure out a way to provide more parking and not less. Now, in regards to the post office lot, I also asked Mr. Pruitt if he would hold off on bias time. Back in 2015, the community clearly stated that they wanted to have some type of a low profile, mostly open kind of retail center there. I have given the design to just a preliminary design idea to Mr. Pruitt, and 400 people in the
If you
community.
could wrap up your comments, we'd appreciate it, please.
Yeah,
Thanks.
400 people in the community have put their name on this conceptual design. I know you've already declared it surplus. This is the second time the Harbor District has declared this exact property surplus. I don't want to be too sharp right now, but you know, in the future, the handling of this property will be probably looked at very, very closely from the community's level. This property was donated to the Harbor District by the widows of the farmers many years ago. It's held in public hands.
Okay, Mr. Haggerty, Mr. Haggerty,
it
if you
should be
could wrap
used
up
for community
comments.
public use. And I think that if we can have an opportunity to get together, you're definitely in the business of retail. You're talking about the retail out at the harbor. If you give the community.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Is that the final comment?
We have Crystal.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much, commissioners. I just wanted to thank Jim. He was a presenter at our State of the Coastside last week, and it was awesome. And he was able to showcase all the different projects that you're working on. We've learned that Jim needs a half hour to talk about the harbor, not 10 minutes. It was very cool. And so I just wanted to let you know that he represented you well at the State of the Coastside. We really appreciated him coming and being a part of it, as he's been a part of it the whole time, which we appreciate so much. And we look forward to working on it next year. And again, just thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Next up is Edmundo.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ed. Go ahead.
Thank you and good afternoon. Commissioner Zemke, congratulations on being elected to the board presidency. I think you will make a good president for this board this year, and I appreciate you being there. I'd like to congratulate you first on placing the regular meeting commissioner comments in the front end of the agenda. It's the first step, I think, in making the district a little more equitable. Folks want to hear what the commissioners have to say, but they can't stay through the whole meeting. So thank you very much. Another thing, please change the regular meetings times to evening hours. It's your prerogative to change the meeting time back to its original evening hours. There are several reasons to do that, but here's a few. Most folks who work day jobs cannot join the meeting at 1 p.m. And you just heard from Mr. Haggerty that he has to struggle to just speak at this meeting, and he can't sit for the whole meeting and speak on items that are important to him on the agenda. And that will happen to a lot of folks. And secondly, having the meeting in the middle of the day acts as a filter for those folks who may want to run for the commission. I see that as a huge equity problem because lots of people have day jobs. So once again, please put that on the agenda sometime and change it back to the regular hours, which the district had for a long time. And thank you all. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Any further public comments?
No hands raised.
Okay, not seeing any. We'll move along to the next for commissioner comments. Any commissioner that would like to make a comment at this time is invited to do so. Yes, Commissioner Slater Carter.
Thank you. I wanted to congratulate the staff and the crew and the public and everyone else on making it through the storms in January. I think that there were a lot of probable bad accidents that could have happened, and between the preparedness and the training and the ability and the community spirit of the staff, the harbor stayed in great shape. It's just a big thank you to you guys and for the training and the staffing that you've been doing. It's a great organization, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for the comment. Any other members of the commission that would like to make a comment at this time?
Both Commissioner Corrali has her hand raised.
Okay,
as does Commissioner Domerant.
okay, Commissioner Ciancarelli.
Thank you. So I'm going to echo what Catherine said too about just making sure that everything was okay at the harbor during the storms. But also I just want to really commend the residents around the harbor in El Granada, Princeton, that area, for their support of the farm workers who were shot in the farm worker community in the Half Moon Bay shooting on January 23rd. As you may or may not know, but I was actually with the farm workers, the surviving Chinese farm workers, trying to translate, or was translating for them the night of the day of the shooting. And I just saw this incredible outpouring from the coastside community, and including a lot of businesses. So, you know, Chrislyn is here with the Chamber of Commerce. So I just wanted to commend everyone for that. It just really brought the coastside community together, and I was very proud to see that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Domerant.
Yes, I also would like to thank Jim for his presentation at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. I attended that to just get an idea more about the community, what they feel about the harbor. Jim does something I can't do. I can't say my own name in 10 minutes, no less give a whole presentation on all the activities of the harbor. So Jim did a great job. It was well received. 30 to 40 people. I think they were quite amazed at how many people really attended that event. They typically get 10 to 15. So it was really well attended. And again, thank you, Jim. Great job.
Okay. Mr. Matoush, would you care to say anything?
No, I'm just excited about all the grants we're applying for. Now we're trying to get money for the various projects. It's amazing to see the number of projects that we have on the books right now. How many are actually past shovel ready? We're starting to see shovelfuls of dirt here and there. There's tremendous plans for the infrastructure. And I'm proud to be part of an organization that's finally seeing something happen after a long time.
Great, thanks for the comment. And I'll just echo the comments that we received on the staff. I do appreciate the hard work that the staff does when the weather turns bad out there, and I think it speaks well of the district. I guess we can move along to item number D, which is the activity reports. What I'd like to do is have the general manager, operations manager, and the administration and finance manager just give a quick overview and highlight anything that they wish to highlight. And then after they give their update, we'll open it to public comment. So Jim, would you like to go first?
Good afternoon, President Zemke. Thank you. I've been having great success in arranging for the tour of the harbor for local elected officials, and also our state representative. So Congresswoman Anna Eshoo is scheduled to spend 90 minutes with us at the harbor to receive a brief on what we're doing at the Harbor District. And also Supervisor Dave Pine will be coming to the harbor to receive a brief on everything that we do. And then we're have a joint meeting with One Shoreline and us to discuss possible integration of One Shoreline's plan with ours, and seeing how we can discuss that and get dual benefits and dual results that we both want from both programs. So very excited about those meetings coming up very soon. And then also we're going to Washington here next week, the end of next week, to talk about to national congressman staff and congressmen and senator staff, and then also federal agencies that could possibly help us with some of our projects. So excited about that trip also. So I think we're moving forward with a lot of this and getting a lot of attention, and I want to build on that to see what we can do to help fund some of our projects and search and rescue.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. John, would you like to highlight any items on operations?
Both at Pillar Point and Oyster Point, our activities and our occupancy has remained pretty consistent, right around 100% at Pillar Point and upper 70s at Oyster Point. Our Oyster Point Marina has, as was stated earlier by a member of the public, done an excellent job absorbing some of the displaced vessels from Oyster Cove Marina, the marina that was the public or private marina that was closed down due to the acquisition for the entire renovation of the peninsula, and the construction there is almost complete now. It's the new restrooms, showers, everything are open, and staff have done an excellent job in creating as little negative impact on our boaters throughout this entire renovation project. The staff at Oyster Point also did an excellent job during all of the storms, as Catherine Slater-Carter mentioned, and others, reiterated that the staff at both facilities did an excellent job during the storms. Oyster Point suffered relatively minor damage to our back station, but other than that, nothing really significant at all. Pillar Point Harbor, as you can see in some of the pictures in my activity report, really had quite a bit of debris challenges Oyster Point had some, which staff are taking care of, but Pillar Point had much more. Staff went out with trucks and actually we were able to, Harbor Master Tibby and Assistant Harbor Master Madrigal were able to actually hire a little skid steer to assist us with clearing the trail and some debris and getting it all hauled off. Staff did an excellent job there. And at both facilities, walking the docks actually during the storms and strong wind events, which just happened yesterday as well. Making sure that docks are clear of debris that could blow into the water, damage vessels, and also retying vessels that have come untied due to improper lines, etc., that owners have used. Some owners being out of town, etc. So overall, our harbors sustained very little damage and came through the strong historic storms remarkably well. I don't really have anything else right now.
Great. Thank you, John. Julie, anything that you would like to highlight?
Yes, I believe this might have been something that was discussed at the last meeting, but in January, again, the district received the budget GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for a very budget document that was up to the standards of what is considered to be a document that presents and explains the budget well and any variances between the budget and the financial reporting aspects of that budget. We are working very hard to get the audited 21-22 financial statements completed, and those should be coming to the board for informational presentation at the March meeting. We've been very busy doing the W-2 and the reporting for the calendar year end, all the tax reporting. We're doing recruitments and we filled the majority of the 3 additional harbor worker positions that the board authorized. We have one more opening that we're looking to fill at this point. And we continue to try to go from a paper-based HR system into an automated HR system. That's been a heavy lift, but we have a lot of projects going on at the same time. And so we're continuing to make progress towards those different goals. We also are updating all of the district's job descriptions. So all of the staff have been putting together position description questionnaires, and those should be presented to the board for review and comments at a future meeting also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the comments. At this time, I will open it to public comments. If there's any member of the public that would like to make a comment on the activity reports.
Yep, Ed?
Again,
Yeah, Ed.
great
ahead.
to see that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great to see the activity report on the agenda early like this, and happy to see that we're following the agenda. I really appreciate it. It makes things much easier for all of us in the public domain. And I do have a question. Would you tell me, please, if you know, whether the meetings with One Shoreline will be a public meeting or whether it's just a private meeting?
It's a private meeting between staff right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Any other hands raised?
Next up, we have John Olin.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Just want to say thanks again for, and second what Mr. Or what Ed said, he's my buddy now. Having this kind of information up front is just such more valuable than at the other end of the meeting. And so just good work. Appreciate the efforts you're making to make it easier for people to participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John.
No hands raised.
Okay, no hands raised. We can then move along to the consent calendar. I will open this to if there's any member of the public that would like to make comments on the consent calendar.
John Olem.
John? John?
Thank you. I'm looking at item number 7. It's, you know, this is just classic. I don't know what the word for it is. Why are a whole bunch of guys from California who have problems in California going to Washington, D.C. to meet 2 congressmen whose job it is to represent California and senators? It's just a waste of money. I can understand why Mr. Pruitt would go, because, well, the Harbor District is a mess financially, as you all have finally woken up to. And so maybe he can get it, because even he's mentioned that it's going to take an act of Congress to fix Johnson Pier, which is amazing. But I guess I can understand why President Zemke would go, because he is the president and he is not the reason why the Harbor District finds itself in the position it does. As to why Virginia Chain Corrali would be going, that is baffling. The number one reason the Harbor District has financial problems is because of its agreements with South San Francisco. There is no other way to put it. You can't sugarcoat it. The Harbor District subsidizes South San Francisco to the tune of over $2 million per year. And that has had consequences. And Ms. Corrali and Commissioner Matoush, they signed up for 15 more years of it and obligated the district to millions upon millions of dollars of infrastructure improvements. So it's just ridiculous that the person who is most proximate cause of the problems you now have is going to go out there and schmooze with some people and spend a few $1,000s in taxpayer money so she can go hang out in DC and post on her Facebook what a great person she is. It's ridiculous. I urge the commissioners not to approve this item as written. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Any further public comments before I open this to commissioner comments? Okay, I'll open this for commissioner comments at this time. I think Commissioner Ciancarelli, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I would like to actually remove item 3 from the consent calendar.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Are there any other comments from the commission? Okay, we will transfer item number 3 to the discussion items, and we will place that after number 13 before we go into closed session.
Motion to approve the consent calendar minus item 3.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar, less item number 3. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Ciancarelli.
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Harder.
Aye.
Commissioner Domrat.
Aye.
President Zemke.
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush.
Aye.
Okay, that moves us along to the discussion items, and the first one is mine, so I will go ahead on that. And after reviewing the committees that we have and the many talents that we are now representing the board to the commissioners, I am going to make the following appointments to committees. We have 3 standing committees which we are required to fill, and that includes Finance, Human Resources, and Oyster Point Marina Liaison Committee. For the Finance Committee, I would like to appoint Tom Matoush as the chair and Commissioner Slater Carter as another commissioner for that committee. For the Human Resources Committee, I'd like Commissioner Ciancarelli to chair that committee, and I will join her on that committee. On the Oyster Point Marina, I will be chairing that committee, and I'd like Commissioner Slater Carter to join me on that committee.
Thank you.
On the ad hoc committees, I know we've had a number of these last year and reviewing how effective they were and whether they're needed or not. I'm going to make a recommendation that we have 2 ad hoc committees this year. One is the Dredging and Sedimentation Committee, and I'd like to have Commissioner Matoush and Commissioner Domerat on that committee. And a second committee on sea level rise, which would also act as the liaison committee with things that might come out of one shoreline. And I'd like Commissioner Chan Karali and Commissioner Domerat on that committee. And I think that covers the committees that I think that we can find effective this year.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve that, President Zemke.
Okay,
I'd second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the committee assignments for 2023. Can
And we have a hand raised.
Oh, do we have a hand raised? Okay.
General Manager Pruitt.
Yes, sorry, I missed that. Jim, go ahead.
You also have 2 hand raised from the public, but my statement's real quick. I would like to make a formal request or a recommendation that Commissioner Dormerant be assigned as the liaison to the Army Corps of Engineers and have that official position.
Right, I would concur with that, and that's why I did place him on the 2 ad hoc committees, because I think his expertise would be of great value to those committees, and he would be of great value as a liaison to the Corps of Engineers as well. So I'll add that to my recommendations as well. And we had public comments.
Yes, John Olam.
Oh, okay.
I hope it's the intention to actually hold these meetings, as if anybody would care to look at how many of these infrastructure type meetings have happened in the past. You see, it's been pretty minimal, like not at all. I don't think a sea level rise committee has met since forever. And the sand replenishment committee, I mean, you're one good storm away that's well aimed, and Miss Slater Carter, you know it because you live here. One well-aimed storm, and there goes Highway 1. And now we're talking about doing something about it finally. But just note that there was no impetus to do anything under the previous administration, under Nancy Raring and Ms. Karali. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We have another comment from the public.
Ed.
Oh, okay, Ed, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to see a wildlife protection committee reinstituted in the Harbor District for many reasons. As I've said before, there's lots of wildlife that comes and goes in our jurisdiction, and we need a standing committee to work on protection of those resources. Without a committee, nothing will happen. That's one thing. The other is, I believe that you just stated you're going to institute two committees that in many ways are overlapping with each other. My suggestion is to have a climate change resiliency committee, which covers all the one shoreline work, and as part of that would also cover some of the dredging, or maybe even take the dredging committee and make it into an ad hoc meeting for the different projects specifically. The reason for that is if you have a committee that's talking about climate change resiliency, that will help the district ask for monies for all of those topics, whereas if you don't, it make it a little harder. And also, I would like to urge you again, as I've done many times, please reinstitute the public as voting members in these committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Any more public comments?
No hands are raised.
Okay. Any additional comments by the commission? Okay, let's go to a roll call
Bill,
vote.
the general manager has his hand up.
Jim, are you?
Just per our policy, you have the authority to simply appoint. There's no vote needed.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner.
Oh, should I remove my motion then, Jim? I could just remove mine. I'll just take it.
You remove your second and Tom can remove his motion.
No, I made the motion. I think
What did you
Tom
do?
seconded it. So I'll take back my motion. So Tom, if you want to take
I'm
back.
gonna take back my 2 cents, so now we're. at
Okay,
zero.
Okay, thanks.
all right. Commissioner Slater Carter, you had a comment.
I wanted to say I do support previous Commissioner Lorenas on having a wildlife protection committee. I think we could overlap in a lot of ways with the sea level rise and also the dredging and sedimentation. There's you can look at dredging and sedimentation as just pulling sand and junk up off the bottom and getting rid of it wherever, realizing it's going to go to the resanding rehabilitation of Surfers Beach. But there's nuances within that I think we should pay attention to fully encompass our title as a harbor district, because a harbor is more than sand and a few boats. There's a whole lot more to it. And so I'd like to see the Wildlife Protection Committee. I'm not talking about wild parties after midnight on the beaches either. So although I don't know, that's what used to happen. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me just put the question out, I guess, to the commissioners. Is there anyone else that sees a need for a wildlife protection committee? What I'd suggest doing is I appreciate the thought, Commissioner Slater Carter, but let's kind of leave that on hold, and we can always appoint a ad hoc commission at a later date if we get more comments. Commissioner Domerat, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I kind of concur. I mean, this is we're dealing with a system, and there's a lot of overlapping things that have in this system called the Harbor District. So I think it takes a little bit more thought how we do that. There is a lot of overlap in all these different committees. We don't have that many of us that can staff and man all these committees. So it's going to be maybe condensing them into 3, that then those committees of dredging can deal with the sea level rise. That has an impact on shoreline. It has an impact on environment. And so there's a lot of this stuff is all interlocking. So I think we just have to do some things in a smart way that we can address all of those interests and concerns in a good way. So
Yeah. Okay, I take that comment. I still would prefer to not appoint a wildlife committee at this time. And I'm going to
I
leave
mean, I
it.
think that we can see how it goes too, Bill. I agree with you. But I mean, I think that as the committees do their work, and if there's more interrelationship plays there, we can see how that evolves. I agree with you. Thanks.
Okay. Any further commission comments? Okay, we will leave it where it's at then at five committees, and move on to the next item, which is item number 12, the mid-year budget review. Julie.
Good afternoon, President Zemke, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen. I guess it works outside of Zoom, but not inside of Zoom, the presentation model. But anyway, I just wanted to talk through this table that is in the staff report. This item is an update regarding how the district is performing relative to the estimate that was put together for fiscal year 22-23. And the budget projections presented are compared to the 22-23 6 months actual, which is the July 1st through December 31st timeframe, and where we're tracking for this first 6 months as compared to budget. Overall, it looks like we're going to underspend our budget in the expenditure category, but I'll go through each one of these line items. The operating revenue, which includes the burst, slip fees, leases, commercial activity permits, long-term lot fees, lunch fees, special event fees, and other items, is tracking 52.4% of budget. So that's a little bit above. We're expecting this to come in right around the budgeted amount. The non-operating revenue, which is our property tax and our interest income, we believe that will be about $200,000 better than budget. That's because when we did the budget projection, we didn't project that our interest income would be so high, and that our balance in our investments accounts are a little bit higher than what we anticipated too. And then in addition to that, the Office of Emergency Services provided $75,478 as reimbursement of prior year COVID costs. Salaries and benefits, we're tracking at 41.2% of the budget for the first 6 months. And as I said in the activity report, we're filling those vacant positions. We have one more to go at this point. So we have approximately $500,000 expected savings for those vacant positions. And we've had some people that have been out on leave. And so that provides some savings too. Included in the 6 months actual is $45,143 on overtime payments. So that cost has been greatly reduced. Operating expenses, that includes everything else that's not salaries and benefits. I won't go through the long list that I have here in the staff report. We're right now tracking below the 50% that you would expect at half a year. However, some of that's timing differences. If we haven't gotten invoices, for example, in some of the line items like legal, then those line items would only include 4 months as opposed to the 6 months cost of those things. So although we're 33.7% now, we expect that the second 6 months of the year things to ramp up, including the contract services, travel and training, and legal fees, and vessel destruction, definitely also. So that leaves us with a revenues exceeding expenditures. We budgeted $2.8 million. The first 6 months, we have $3.5 million. We have about $700,000 expected savings in our expenditures, which would bring us to $4.2 million. No, I'm sorry. It would bring us to $3.5 million for our budget. And then we have election costs, which is $745,000, which was what we projected in our budget. But we only had one districted election, so we expect that to be lower than that amount. However, we don't have an estimate from the elections office that will be expected next month. Our capital contributions, which is our grants, once we spend that money on those capital projects, will be requesting the grant reimbursement. And right now we're at 12.6% of our capital project spending. So as our capital project construction costs continue to come in and those invoices continue to come in, that amount will definitely increase too. So again, in summary, we have approximately $700,000 better, and we're gonna plan on coming to the board to use that money to fund the engineering design for the public pillar or Pillar Point Harbor launch ramp boat wash replacement, and 1.2 million for the access ramps for OPM docks 1 through 6 and 11. And that will leave us with an ending estimated balance of working capital of $14.2 million, which approximately 3 million of that will be set aside for our reserves. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I think you're on mute, Bill. Commissioners.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
had muted myself to keep my dog quiet. But thanks for the report, and it's good news. And I do want to at least highlight the fact that some of these savings can be attributed to the hard work of our staff, and particularly Jim, who's really done a good job of keeping his eye on costs and making this kind of a priority. So this is really good news. So Commissioner Chancarelli, you also had a comment.
Oh, I just wanted to thank Julie and her staff and the whole team, Julie, for doing a great job. And, you know, I know that we're constantly improving, and this is why we're winning these awards. So thanks for all your hard work, Julie. And staff, tell everyone on your team that we all appreciate that. Thanks.
For sure.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Demarat, you had your hand raised.
Oh, sorry, mistake. No, but again, thank you
Oh.
so much. This is a lot of hard work. Numbers look really good. So onward.
Okay. Commissioner Slater Carter, you had a hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I want to applaud and congratulate the general manager Pruitt and all of the staff. I have seen other budgets for the Harbor District that had me very worried, and they needed deep boots to wade through. This is good news, and especially it's good news because of the staff and the hard work that has been done. So it's nice to see, and I look forward to being on the Finance Committee with this. Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, Julie, thank you for an excellent report and a fine summary. We can move on to item number 13, which is a letter to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers requesting Section 107 navigation improvements. Jim, this is yours.
Trying to find the unmute button. Good afternoon, President Zemke, Harbor Commissioners, member of the public. This issue concerns the erosion damage caused by the installation of the outer breakwater on the beaches near and in Pillar Point Harbor. The recommended motion is authorize the general manager to sign and cause to have issued the letter to Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Arnett, Army Corps of Engineer, dated February 15, 2023, requesting the assistance of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers under Section 111 of the River and Harbors Act of 1968 as amended in mitigation to shore damage attributed to navigation works in Pillar Point Harbor on the San Mateo coastline. The breakwater has blocked or changed the currents in and around the breakwater, resulting in accelerated erosion or damage to Surfers Beach, the beach along Princeton by the sea, and the beaches along the West Trail. Because the erosion damage has been caused by the breakwater, the U.S. Army Corps may be responsible to repair the damage. However, the first step in determining if the Army Corps can legally use federal dollars on a project is the feasibility study. A feasibility study was conducted on Surfers Beach in 2015 and found no federal interest, and thus the Army Corps did not take any further action. However, staff believes the conditions have changed that warrant a new feasibility study, and the study should include not only Surfers Beach, but the West Trail beaches and the beaches protecting Princeton by the sea. Again, all these beaches have suffered increased erosion and damage as a result of the breakwater. The study would be conducted under the authority of Section 111 of the River and Harbors Act to determine federal interest in mitigating the shore damage attributed to the breakwater, a federal navigation works project. To initiate a study, a written request from the district is required. Attached to the staff report is a draft letter requesting the study. The Army Corps will fund the initial $100,000 for the study, and anything over this amount, if any, would be subject to a 50-50 cost share. If found feasible and the study supports the federal interest, the project phase is subject to cost share at the same percentage the district paid to build the original breakwater. And it's staff's recollection that this district paid 0% in building the breakwater, thus making the cost share for the project to be 0%. The draft letter was based on a recommended template provided by the Army Corps. And again, the recommended motion is authorize the general manager to sign and cause to have issued the letter to Lieutenant Colonel Kevin P. Arnett, Army Corps of Engineers, dated February 15th, 2023, requesting the assistance of U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, Section 111 of the River and Harbors Act of 1968, as amended, in mitigation to shore damage attributed to navigation works in Pillar Point Harbor on the San Mateo coastline. Earlier, I was recommending a study be conducted under Section 107, but upon further discussions with the Army Corps and available funding, and working with One Shoreline, we changed that request still under the continuing authorities program of the Army Corps of Engineers from Section 107 to 111. So this recommended motion again is for Section 111 and not Section 107. That concludes my report, and I'm standing by for questions.
Okay,
Well, I'll
thank you.
make that motion, Bill.
Let's hold off on the motion.
Okay.
At this time, I'd like to call and see if there are any public comments. Do we have any public comments?
John Olam?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well,
Yes.
every meeting is another hunt, kind of, so to speak. So now you're basically saying to the Army Corps of Engineers, they need to prove that they're the problem, and if they're the problem, they got to fix it. And I guess you're all hoping that the Army Corps of Engineers won't conclude that the way to fix it is to restore it to what it was before, which would be no harbor wall at all. I mean, it's just one after another. You guys have punted on rescue services. You guys have punted on doing anything about the Surfers Beach at this point, because now you're saying you're going to ask the Corps of Engineers, even if they cooperate, can you realistically say anything would happen that would change ground facts out there in the next decade or so? I mean, this seems to be just a lot of pushing it down the road. And I'd love to see the Army Corps of Engineers come and solve your problem. But when you are the problem, I'm not sure that you wanted to have it solved. And I'm not sure that this attitude that you didn't cause it, so somebody else has got to fix it, you might be legally right. but I still see there's going to be a bridge along that section of road long before the Army Corps of Engineers does anything about it, or frankly, you guys. You're not coming up with realistic short-term anything that could at least extend the use of the beach or of the highway there. Corps of Engineers, it's a long shot. Good luck, but I think you're wasting bandwidth.
Up next is Kimberly Williams.
Hi, can you hear
Go
me?
ahead, Kimberly.
Thank you, commissioners and staff. This is Kimberly Williams. I represent San Mateo County Surfrider. And I'd just like to say that I actually applaud this effort that you're making to work with One Shoreline and to look into other possibilities for how to manage the continuing erosion and impacts of sand movement in the harbor. While we cautiously, support this exploration, we want to look at things that will improve conditions for surfers and also improve the longevity of the beach and beach replenishment. So I guess I just want to encourage you to keep looking at alternative solutions, including removing the eastern breakwater. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for the comments. Any further public comments? Okay.
No hands raised.
Okay. Commissioner Delmarat, you had a hand raised.
Yeah, I would just like to say that the Corps' 2015 report basically admitted that it is a problem caused by the breakwater structure. But the policy of the Corps at that time, and I believe it hasn't changed, we'll find out more when we apply for this addition, not apply, but request the new section 111, is two little characters called B and C, which is the benefit cost. So there has to be a benefit cost ratio over the number one. And the benefits that the federal government will look for are benefits to the federal government, to the federal taxpayer. The main benefit for providing protection to the area along Highway 1 is Highway 1 and protecting that road. But when you look at the ownership of that, which is Caltrans, Caltrans was approached and Caltrans basically said, we don't want to participate. This isn't our issue. We'll just move the road inland further. So that is why the 2015 report kind of just went away, because without that major player, there wasn't a lot of benefit to that study. The challenge here for the next one will be that there's more issues that are created by the breakwater and other structures within the harbor that changed the way things happen inside. So that's the portion that we're going to look at. And the other thing would be maybe we need to try to reconvince Caltrans to take another look at what they can and will do for the future. So these are the things that we'll work on with the Corps. In addition to that, the 111, the 107 was kind of interesting. And I think that still bears some additional discussion and looking at channels and turning basins. The Corps does not dredge berthing areas, so where the boats are, but they do dredge as part of the federal project, navigation channels and turning basins. The reason Pillar Point never had a federal project for channels is the water was always deep enough for the boat mix that is there. So you don't need 50 feet or 80 feet like we have in Oakland Harbor. You needed the 10 to 15 feet or whatever, and that was a natural depth. So there was never any federal participation in dredging channels. If that has changed, then I think, again, it would bear to look at a small project, a 107. So we can continue to discuss that further. I would recommend to the commissioners, just do a Google search on the Army Corps of Engineers Continuing Authorities Program. These are these small projects limited to total project cost of $8 to $10 to $15 million each. Corps of Engineers, $100,000 right up front to do an initial appraisal. That's an important step, because at that point, we as the commissioners want to look at it and say, well, is there value? Will it go forward before we as a district have to spend any money on it? So those are all really critical things. But when you look at the continuing authorities program, there's some others for environmental restoration. If you consider that beach that used to be in front of Highway 1 as an ecosystem, the beach is an ecosystem. The harbor now destroyed that ecosystem. Then there are other things that maybe we can take into play. So I think the relationship with the Corps will be an important one. And there's other things than just the Section 111 to look at, and we'll go ahead and do that both in a subcommittee and together as a group with the Corps of Engineers. Sorry for the lecture.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Slater Carter, you had your hand raised. And I believe you're on mute.
There I go again.
Okay.
Have to keep the dog quiet. Commissioner Dormer, thank you for the lecture. More lectures like that, more information, make better decisions. And it's part of transparency for the public to understand what's going on, particularly to do it in public. So thank you very much. I have been wondering why in the 40 years I've lived on the coast that the outer breakwater wasn't examined more closely to see what it was doing. I think this is a timely move. I think the Army Corps of Engineers has brought in new staff and new ideas since that was built. And I also think Caltrans can be worked with to work on other solutions. Certainly their plan instead of a tunnel was to put in a 6-lane freeway that cut 300 feet out of the top of Montara Mountain and added 300 feet of fill on the bottom of the Montara side. And it took a countywide election and an incredibly talented and dedicated group of members of the public. I'm hoping we can remind them of this and that we can look for a much better solution than just moving the highway inland. There are others that are done by other countries and other states. And so there is always more than one option. And I think this is timely and it's good news to be working with One Shoreline because between the two of us, we can probably find monies, but I am glad we are going first and that we are going to be the project leaders. I think it's critical that the Harbor District is the one in charge, not either the Army Corps of Engineers or cities from over the hill. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing how this goes. And it's an excellent letter. It was a pleasure to read. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chan Corrali, you had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Dumrot for giving some more color on the report and the staff report and everything. And I'm just so glad that the relationship is going to be further developed and we're actually all collaborating together, whether it's with the Army Corps of Engineers or One Shoreline. The point is that we're working together in the best interest of the residents, especially on the coast. I mean, because when the issue of the outer breakwater, for example, came up as possibly being removed, people on the coast were very unhappy. And I think the leadership that we're seeing from the general manager and the addition of really making a concerted effort to work with the Army Corps of Engineers shows that we're listening and that we're trying to take into consideration all the viewpoints. So thank you, Jim. And thank you, George. You'll probably be getting some questions from me at least. I mean, I'm just not that familiar. I mean, I know what the Army Corps does, but not the ins and outs. So I appreciate your expertise and knowledge on all of this. So thank you. Can I make my motion now, Bill?
Oh, no, we're going to let Jim talk.
Oh, okay.
Jim, you had your hand raised.
Just as a follow-on to Commissioner Dormert's comment, that the 107 is not forgotten. You're correct. There's several different programs under the cap. And when we have our kickoff meeting with the Army Corps with the 111, we're also going to discuss our ultimate goals for this sand and for the dredging and for the channel, and seek their advice on the best way to approach that. So don't think that 107 is not on the plate still. That's on the plate. So are the other applicable programs under the continuing authorities program.
Okay. Any further comments from the commission? Okay, Commissioner Chancarelli, if you would like to make a motion?
Sorry.
That's
Sure, I will move to authorize the general manager to sign it and cause to have issued the letter to Lieutenant Colonel Kevin P. Arnett, Army Corps of Engineers, dated February 15th, 2023, requesting the assistance of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers under Section 111 of the River and Harbor Act of 1968, as amended, in mitigation to shore damage attributable to the navigation works in Pillar Point Harbor on the San Mateo County coastline.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we recommend general manager to execute a letter. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Slater Carter. Oh, I think you're muted.
I muted too fast. Aye.
Commissioner Domrat,
Aye.
President Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush,
Aye.
Commissioner Chancarelli.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Now we will go back to item number 3, the commercial activity permit application for general or Golden Gate Scenic Steamship Corporation doing business as Red and White Fleet to operate as a commuter ferry service out of Oyster Point Marina. Jim, this was your item.
If I can ask Commissioner Chancarelli to, if she has a question, I can address that question, or does she want me to fully brief this item?
Yeah, well, so so I did pull the item off the agenda or off of the consent calendar. And I just had a question, Jim. I mean, I fully support the whole ferry transportation initiatives that we're doing, and we're working with the corporate partners like Genentech. But back in 2019, I think there was another group of I think another vendor that was interested in bringing some ferry transportation here and one or to Oyster Point. And I don't know if you remember that discussion. It was we had the meeting in South San Francisco, if I remember correctly. And I think it was in October. Anyway, the point is that we were going to look at a bigger picture situation. And one of the reasons at the time, and I might be not remembering this correctly, was that Genentech had this commercial activity permit locked in. And I just wanted to make sure that we're taking everything into consideration with regard to other ferry transportation vendors, so that we have room at Oyster Point for others as well. So, I mean, I may be remembering that incorrectly because that was almost what 3.5 years ago, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you remember that situation?
I wasn't with the district at that time, but I do know the discussions, and we have
Yeah, I think
expanded.
John Warren was the interim at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, that was before you came on. I forgot. Yeah.
We have extended some of the ferry service out there using the guest dock. And before there was just one, now there's two. And the conflict, clearing the conflict is between the operators, and things have been working extremely well out there. This ferry operator is simply a replacement for Genentech's previous ferry operator. And they have the contract now. So we're just swapping contracts with operators for Genentech and making sure they cover their costs owed to the district.
Right, but if I remember correctly, and we may have to go back to this, to that video, one of the reasons that we didn't extend the contract to another vendor was that there wasn't enough room, and that this current, and I don't know, I think it's the current vendor, didn't have or had most of the space, and there wasn't space enough for other vendors. So, I mean, we may have to go back. I mean, John, I think you were the interim general manager at the time. And like I said, it was so long ago that.
Yeah, it was actually even before I was interim general manager.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
anyway,
recall-
it was a long time ago, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to look at other vendors, to include them if they want to be. And I'm not saying we shouldn't renew this, but maybe we need to take a macro look at where we are for vendors in general. And I mean, I see a public member's hand up, and maybe.
Understood, and I think that's an excellent idea, of course, to maybe even do RFPs for for when there becomes an opening for a new ferry system, because there may be competition. However, let me just fill in a little bit of the question regarding the history. Prop SF was the vendor for Genentech, and we also had, back when you're just talking about, back in like 18, another vendor, Tideline wished to start a competing, if you will, not really competing, but just another ferry vendor, and we did allow it, but at a different site. But in 18, on the actual fuel dock, but in 18 they wanted to actually move their operation to the same guest dock as SF Prop, and staff advised that was too much competition, if you will, for the same area, and would create challenges. However, subsequently later, the board did in fact allow Tideline to share the guest dock with Prop SF. And now my understanding is, though, Tideline is no longer even utilizing that commercial activity permit that was granted by our board. And then now what Jim is bringing to the board today is just simply the change of Genentech's vendor, Prop SF, to another vendor. So I don't even think that would trigger a need for an RFP.
Well, so I understand that, John, but if I remember correctly, one of the things that we were looking at, and I think it was 2019. I think it could be 2018. Anyway, it was the first meeting we had in South San Francisco for a long time. And so that's why I'm thinking it's 2019. That one of the reasons that we did not or could not approve other vendors was because of the current vendor or the current contract for Genentech. And so I'm saying that if there's a way for us to look at this, like I said, in a bigger picture scenario before we lock another vendor in, and we should, get someone there for Genentech, because they rely on ferry transportation so much. I think that we need to look at that. And maybe we just need to do a little more research as to what that discussion was, what 3.5 years ago, just to make sure that, we're looking at the whole picture. I mean, does this have to be approved today? Can this be done next month?
But they need to start I want to make sure they're operating under a cap. But
okay,
Commissioner Crawley, even if we approve this cap today, that doesn't prevent another ferry operator to approach the district and ask to start operating in and out of Oyster Point. And that might be likely, given the fact that everybody's coming back to the office, and Oyster Point is opening up their office buildings, their new ones. So we may see more and more need for ferries, and those ferry operators may offer more service.
I know that, but what I'm saying, Jim, is last time the excuse or the rationale or the reasoning, whatever we want to call it, was that there wasn't enough room.
And Commissioner Crowley, I'd just like to say again, try to make myself a little bit more clear. Tideline was the one at the South San Francisco, at the yacht club meeting. They were
Yeah.
they were the ones that at that time, we explained that it was not feasible at that time. Subsequently, though, they came back asking asking the board again to share the guest doc with Prop SF. And they even met with apparently the Prop SF team, and it was relayed that there was not going to be a problem. So we, the board, actually did allow Tideline to share the guest doc with Prop SF. However, they ended up on their own account simply not renewing. So we ended up with just Prop SF renewing a commercial activity permit at the guest doc.
Okay, well, I just want us to make sure that we're keeping all of the past in mind as well as we move forward.
We are.
I know, I mean, but this predates your arrival and as John said, you know, I think probably Tom Matoush and I were the only people on the board at the time.
And we
I don't
had
even think Bill
discussions.
was on there.
We had discussions when we approved the board approved Prop SF, and the discussion about conflicts and Mariners. The board agreed that the Mariners can work out the conflicts on their own and don't need the board to dictate it. And they did exactly that. And the board was correct in that assumption. So we did discuss competition. We discussed additional ferry service. So I think we're meeting what you're asking us to do, but I will look into it further to make sure we are.
Thank you. Catherine has her hand up, Bill.
Commissioner Slater Carter, you had your hand up. You're also muted.
These little icons in the top corner are hard to see, so thank you. I hope nobody's offended by my just going like this, but it just helps. Anyway, I support what Commissioner Ciancarelli is saying, but this is just a very short-term lease, and I think it could take us a long time to get some of the issues she's raised worked out. I would suggest that we adopt it and start discussing the issues. As was said, there are going to be more people having to go back to work, whether they want to or not. They're going to have to go into the office, and it would be nice to help keep traffic off the road and off the parking lots and all of that stuff. So I would say that again, I think we should move it and continue working. The board should continue working with the management team and vendors. I think a basic overall look at all of this is important.
Well, if you want to make the motion, Catherine, I'll second it.
I'll make the motion to approve item C from the item C from the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve item number 3 from the consent calendar. Can we have a roll call, please?
Well, we have public comment, Bill.
Do we have public comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heather Salem.
Further public comments? Yes, go ahead, Heather.
Hi, my name is Heather Salem. I'm the program manager at Genentech for the ferries and all of our commute operations. So I just wanted to let you know that I was here to answer any questions that you might have, and it sounds like this will pass. So I'm excited to hear that. The service won't change. This is just a move to a new operator because we recently did an RFP for our service, and so we're just moving from Prop SF to red and white. And we are always supportive of more ferry service. We don't see it as competition. More people who are out of their cars is all we're hoping for. So I can answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Any further comments from the commission? Okay, seeing no comments, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dumrat,
Aye.
President Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. That concludes our discussion items. We'll now go into a closed session. You should have a link to get to that item. And then we will come back to this. Okay, we got everybody back, looks like it. Or is Catherine there?
I don't see Catherine.
Okay. We'll give her a few minutes.
I think she's in the mountains, so she sometimes has connectivity problems.
Problems, yeah.
Okay.
She was in the audience. I think she'll be here in a sec.
Okay. Oh, there she is. Okay, we're back in regular session here. And I will just advise that there were no reportable report outs for either of the two closed session items, which can move us then to item number H, future agenda items. Do any of the commissioners have items that they would like to suggest for future meetings? Okay, hearing none. I will then entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Can we have a roll call, please?
President Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Corrali,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Dumrat.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
thought we
Thanks,
had a
Bill.
You.
Good meeting.
See you later.
See you guys.
Bye.